I'm Joel Epstein. This is the Big Joel Community Call, Mondays at 2 p.m. Tiny bit of housekeeping. There will be no call next Monday. I have a travel day and am not able to get off the plane in time for the call. So there will be no call next Monday, but we'll be right back to normal schedule the Monday after, which I think is the 25th of October. So there'll be no call. Another baby piece of housekeeping. We did just start a crush group, but I guess this is great news for me. I have a whole onslaught of new people that want to start a crush. So we're going to start another one probably in 2 weeks. We have like 3 slots in there if anybody's available. I mean, if anybody knows someone that has been waiting or wants to get in a crush group. Okay, this week, everybody, I'm lucky. We have James Allen. James Allen has been on here before. I think he was on in March. You may have seen me doing a podcast with him. James Allen is a fascinating dude. He is with Guaranteed Rate in the greater Hartford area in Connecticut. So he is not a Fairfield County guy, New York Metro. He's more of a Hartford, Connecticut guy, as is evidenced by his average loan amount. James has not really been in the business that long, everyone. James has just shot to the moon with his business, doing everything what I would call right. And traditional regarding relationship. He's a purchase guy. Of course, he has done a lot of refinances, and he should be refinancing every loan he's done. I love when people give a massive producer a hard time about doing a bunch of refis, and I'm like, yeah, but the guy closed 1,000 loans last year. Wouldn't you expect he would be doing 1,000 refis? I mean, I'm talking 2 years ago. I mean, you would hope that he would refinance all his people. But today I just wanted to talk with James a little bit because as he continues to grow his business is just going up, not down. And as a lot of companies, I don't know if you all are seeing this just yet. Those of you that are managers on the phone, I know we have Patty on here, and I'm sure there's other people I can't see that are on here that are managers. There's a lot of freezes on hiring bodies right now. And because of that, the reason for that is volume is down in certain areas. And it's not purchase volume, it's refi volume. So if you had a guy closing 10 refis a month, maybe he's only closing 4 now. So we don't need as much staff, whereas James is going the other way. His business is going up. And I'm sure you all remembered a couple of weeks ago, there's a great call with my friend Kevin O'Loughlin with Movement Mortgage in Pittsburgh. And at the end, I said, Kevin, do you have any words for the group? And he basically said, yeah, basically go deep or go home, meaning you better get on it. You better get out there and get in front of your partners, or there's going to be no partners to get in front of. And I very quickly said, yeah, you're going to be behind this guy trying to get around him to get to his agent partners, and you're not going to be able to get there because he's doing all the right things. Well, I'm lucky I got another guy just like that on the phone right now that is doing that type of stuff and solidifying relationships. So James Allen, welcome to the call. Let everyone know just real quick, when did you start? What was your first official year in the mortgage business?
I originated my first loan when I came to Guaranteed Rate. It closed November 1st, 2017.
2017. And 2019 units? Ballpark?
2019?
Yeah, ballpark.
I don't know, 250.
Okay, 20?
320.
And you're tracking this year? Extrapolate?
I'm at 310 right now.
Okay, so we're extrapolate to close to 4 probably, right? You probably cracked 4, right?
Yeah, I got a couple big months here, so yeah.
Okay, all right. And I can tell you all those big months are not a whole bunch of refis. Those big months are purchase loans, and they are coming from referrals from agent partners that he has worked extremely hard to, let's call, bring into the fold and deepen those relationships. So James, let's talk about, these groups are filled with all kinds of people, but a lot of these people have been through crush groups. They know a lot of my terminology, that they know those things. What we were talking before the call, what's your B2B goal for the week? How many do you want to do each week? What's your goal?
A win week for me would be one more than the number of working days that week. So, 6 essentially.
Okay. So that's 6 B2Bs, everyone. 6. Okay. We all know that a B2B is breakfast, lunch, dinner, and or drinks. It's never coffee. Coffee doesn't count. A B2B also doesn't count if there's more than one agent there unless it's a husband and wife, a husband and husband, a wife and wife, two people that do everything together, that would share personal information together. So just because you had a happy hour with agents does not mean that's a B2B. I'm not telling you not to do it. I'm just saying it doesn't count as a B2B. So James, who is tracking probably 40 plus units a month right now, is in front of 4, probably at a minimum, 5 referral partners each week for a minimum of, I would call it, James, those things got to be at least 90 minutes, right? Each 60, 90.
Yeah.
Yeah, 60, 90.
Give or take 60 to 90, yeah.
Okay. And it was funny. Tell everyone what happens. I wasn't giving James a hard time, but I said, how many B2Bs do you have? He says, I only had 2. I said, what's your goal? He told me. And then, James, tell everyone what you said about from doing B2Bs, because I think it's great for everyone to hear.
Yeah, the problem with B2Bs is that they do what they're supposed to do. You do a bunch of B2Bs, then you get buried, and then all of a sudden you can't do B2Bs because you're too busy, and you got to, like, you know, somebody cancels something and you're like, oh, thank God, because you can barely fit your day.
So it's the greatest vicious circle you could ever have, you know, because it's the proof in the pudding that they work. But remember, everyone, they work when you're consistent as well. They don't work when you do like one every 6 months. Okay. They work when you're consistent. James, what would you, we got a lot of people on this call. Some people are starting to freak out a little bit about, you know, if you were on this call last week, you heard Clayton Collins talking about volume. Someone asked a great question about volume. He basically said, yeah, it's going to be a third of what it is right now. You know, there's some people just freaking out. Okay. But, you know, a big part of that drop is refis, obviously, you know, because, by the way, everyone, we're 5 million houses short right now for people that want them. 5 million houses short. I don't see the purchase business slowing down anytime soon. Okay. But refis are going to go away. James, talk to people about some core activities, what you do during the day. Take the floor a little bit. Again, guys and gals, 4 years in the business, this guy's been 4.5 years in the business, and he's killing it. So just take the floor a little bit. Talk about what you're doing, what you focus on. Take it.
Yeah. The first thing I do every day is try to blow the smoke out of the room and decomplicate my day. I feel like everything that comes from the outside tries to create a complicated schedule, complicated timeline, all this different stuff. Really straightforward. Spend the time every day with the partners, ask them for the business. Don't talk about business the whole time. Like, literally don't talk about business at all. My primary objective in the morning is to simplify my day. Like, how can I get in front of one partner today? If it's not already on the schedule, how can I get it on the schedule for today, tomorrow, whatever? So that's priority number 1. Priority number 2 is get my team in order, because the only way I can be out meeting with people is if they're actually, you know, knowing what to do on the back end. So we start our morning off with a little mini team meeting where we're just setting objectives for the day, talking about sales goals, focusing on what we have for the week, that kind of thing. Not rocket science.
So, James, I want to just make sure everyone heard that. Important. Did you hear him say one? Who's the one agent he's going to get in front of for the day? Most loan officers are like, I'm going to call 40 people with some script I bought from some, I won't say what coaching company, and drop some, hey, how you doing? It's James Allen with Guaranteed Rate. I'm calling you today because I know you're a big producer, and I'm wondering if you have time on Thursday at 3 or Friday at 2 to meet with me so I can tell you how great I am. Okay, he's looking for one person. Literally, he's looking for one body. By the way, it's not a cold body either. He's combing through going, oop, haven't talked to that person a little bit. I'm looking for that one person. Yeah. Just one, everyone. Yeah. One. Okay? And it's not that complicated.
And we make it complicated too. Like, sometimes I don't have a B2B scheduled and I'm like, well, today's a lost day, but it's not. Like Monday, I'll text the partner and be like, hey, how was Johnny's soccer game on Saturday morning? They're responding. And then I'm like, do you want to have lunch on Thursday? And I'm getting them in the calendar with just simple things. Like, just keep it super simple. That's pretty much it.
So now, how did James know that little Johnny had a soccer game? Which is what I'm always thinking immediately. He's smiling. Okay. The reason he knows is because he has real relationships with his partners, right? Not transactional. He has real relationships, which should be everyone's goal on this call. That's what leads, by the way, Peyton's feet. Peyton, that is a nice petty you got working there. The goal, the key to loving this business is doing it with your friends.
Yeah.
Because your friends aren't asking you what the rate is all day, every day. James, if you look at your loans, I'm curious. Let's say you closed 40 loans, say there were 8 refis. Say you closed 32 purchase loans. Who were those? How many agents were those 32 loans referred by? Ballpark. Yeah, I know you have the data, but 18, 20, less?
10.
Okay, so did you all hear that? 32 loans, those were referred by 10 people.
And it's like
32
8 one-offs.
people.
It's like 8 one-offs and then like 2 that I get like 6 transactions from or something like that, you know?
Right. And remember, he had to work very hard to get those 6 transactions, to get all of that business. And he got that business by going deep and doing B2Bs. I'm assuming everyone on this call is a good loan officer, by the way. I'm assuming you know how to close loans. I'm just leaving that alone and assuming you can do that. Okay. And assuming that every loan officer can close loans, then what's the difference? The difference is guilt and sympathy. The difference is trust. The difference is, do they want James to have that loan? Now, James, you talked about this before, but people can never hear it enough. When James started, he realized, hey, I don't know anything. And I'm this young guy, so I'm going to run hard into a space. He chose VA as his space, or he chose veterans loans. James, talk to everyone. There's a lot of people on this call that could easily do that same thing that you did that just aren't. Tell everyone what you did when you started, when you really didn't know anything.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and a lot of you guys already do this, whether you know it or not. You're either a generalist or you're a specialist. And we have to be generalists to some degree because we serve all kinds of people. But I thought it would be better to try to specialize in something. I wouldn't say I'm an expert at anything, because I think if you've been in this business long enough, you realize pretty quickly that there's always an infinite amount of information to continue to learn. But I would say I specialize in VA financing. And I made that decision pretty early on, invested in some different training opportunities, and used that to differentiate myself with agent partners. B2Bs are the core of how you go deep and get the relationship, but how I get the meetings with the people, I do a lot of training. So I spend time doing real estate trainings in offices. I do a lot of VA trainings. People come to those trainings, they see what we're talking about. They've never heard this stuff before, and then they agree to have lunch with me. And then at lunch, we don't talk about business at all, and we become friends. And that's how I have chosen to do it for myself. So
I love this subject because loan officers, for some reason, and I'm not sure why, we think that we are the owners of the ultimate lunch and learn. We think we're the owners of the ultimate, training. We all get these calls all the time. Can you come in and talk to all of our agents about this, about that, about this? And what loan officers do is they go in and they have some presentation and they hand out a bunch of tchotchkes and they talk about a bunch of stuff that honestly the agents a lot of times don't even understand or don't want to hear or don't care about. And they walk out and they think, wow, that was great. And nothing happens. I wanted to make sure you all heard that when James does that, if he takes an hour out of his day or a Saturday to do that, believe me, he's leaving with some B2Bs booked. Probably at least one, and my bet is his goal is 3. Okay. And then when he gets to that B2B, he is not talking business, even though it's assumed it's going to be a business discussion. Because of what he was talking about. They
always try to go back to that. They're always trying to go back to business the whole time because they don't even know how to meet with a loan officer who's not talking about products and like just stupid stuff that we don't care about.
Yeah, and anyone that's been through a crush group, you've heard me ranting on about this. Most real estate agents, if they really look at themselves in the mirror, have gone mostly their whole career without having a really deep relationship with a lender partner. A lot of agents that I meet all over, they have, oh, this is my lender and my loan officer and this, that, and the other, but it's still very transactional. It's not really a deep relationship. So a lot of them don't really even know how to do that because they haven't. By the way, there's great agents all over the country that have been selling real estate for a long time that do very well, that have good lenders they work with, but they've never really gone deep like that. And going deep like that is when you get the answer that James said, 32 purchase loans, 10 partners. Okay. And let me tell you, the agents would rather do business like that. And it's a heck of a lot easier to manage 10 relationships than it is to manage 32. When I meet these loan officers that they'll be bragging, they close 20 loans a month, and they're all actually, it's funny. Sean Gaudreau's on here right now. And Sean, you can unmute if you want or whatever. But when I met Sean was a good, solid producer at Guaranteed Rate in Boston or north of Boston, but he was doing it the hard way. I mean, the grinding hard way. And we completely changed his business because James, Sean's answer, if you said 32 loans, he would have been like 28 people. I mean, he would have been very close. It would have been
in my mind, it was more like there was probably 150 agents, and I was getting maybe 5 loans a month, trying to chase 150 agents at one time.
Yeah, which by the way, normal, common. There's lots of people on the phone right now nodding, going, What I want you all to know is you're looking at James Allen right now. This is totally doable. This guy's not been doing this for 20 years. So don't make I can't do that. He's way more experienced than me. No, he's been doing it 5 years. Okay, this is totally doable. And he's producing at a level that he's off the charts. Okay. And on average, people closing 30 plus purchase loans a month are rare animals anywhere. Okay. So he's doing it. Go ahead, James.
I just feel like people will make any excuse they can to complicate this. Like they'll literally come up with any reason to make this topic that you're talking about more complicated than it is. Like it's so simple. Here's my litmus test. If I can go to a lunch and resist the temptation to talk about loans or the mortgage business at all, then I know that we've crossed a barrier that we're now in the friend zone. We're now like I'm there with that person where I can start to actually ask for that business and know that it's going to turn on into something real. Like it is actually that simple. And I think everybody comes up with a million reasons as why they can't do it, or they complicate it. It's super simple. Don't talk about business, period. Like
I can't tell you, James, how many times on crush groups with newer crush groups with people that I don't know that well, and they'll be not fighting with me, but pushing back on me. Joel, you don't understand. They only want to talk about business. I'm like, resist. Sean's asking about asking for the business. I want to make sure everyone's clear on this when James says that. I don't want to put words in James's mouth, but I think I safely can because we do work together. James does not ask for the business unless it is the perfect time to ask. And even when he does, he's not asking. So I want to just put those words in his mouth. There's at no time when James is pulling out the patented, whip out his card and slit their neck with his card to ask for loans. It's a very natural part of the relationship. Sean asked the question, when does it come apart? And if you're doing your B2Bs right, everyone, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There is a time and a place. Relationships are a marathon, not a sprint. When you're there, you know when, and it's still not even a traditional ask. It's not even a who do you know who. It's a super casual. And I think, James, you tell me if I'm wrong or right, but most people don't even need the tiny push. They know.
I ask on the way out of the restaurant, hey, what do you got? I say, who are you taking out this weekend? Or what do you got going on this weekend? And they're like, I got this showing, that showing, that showing. And I'm like, my team's on all weekend, whatever you need, let us know. And that's like pretty much, that's what I say.
So, and that is, Sean, remember, that is with a pretty mature relationship as well. That's not a brand new, that's not a first time. That's at the end. That's the fist bump on the way out. So the answer
through a whole meal at that point without talking about business. That's what happened. And then you can get there.
Right. Okay. James, what would you tell someone right now? Anything, it could be, hours worked, working hard or hardly working or whatever. What would you tell people right now going into 2022? Sorry, I was just checking the time. Going into 2022, what are some good words of wisdom, some good takeaways from everyone on this call, things everyone should be doing, every day or should start getting in the habit of doing? Some of it could be, whether it's from exercising or whether, whatever it is, just things that you do because you're going up. You're not even, you're going.
Yeah. Well, so this is the time of year, and this is like so cliche, but you guys, this, but you need to hear it again. And I do too. This is the time of year where everybody just takes their foot off the gas and is like, I'm going to like slow down or whatever. There's a conscious collective decision where the majority of loan officers trail off and do less in December, January, February, but it doesn't have to be like that. Somebody mentioned 150 agents. I think it was Sean. You can manage 150 agents. You just can't manage 150 friendships. So, but how do you pick the friendships? Well, what I do is text a ton of people Monday through Friday in the morning, send a note of encouragement, this or that. And those that are engaging, I'm trying to pull in to meetings. I'm trying to pull into meals and lunches. And I put my foot on the pedal quite a lot through the end of the year. I'll take like the last week of the year off, if you want to call it that, but I'm grinding all the way until that point. And I'm trying to touch as many agents as I can throughout the process and have as many B2Bs right through. People say, oh, they're too busy to do the holidays. Like, not true. They'll totally meet with you because you're their friend. It's a lunch with a friend. It's not a lunch with somebody who's asking and soliciting. So there's a different vibe there, if that makes sense. And if you keep that at the center, you can grind right through January, February. Like, you should not slow down. Your purchase units are only going to slow down by, whatever the actual market turns are in terms of inventory, but otherwise you should be in control of that.
What a great message, everyone. So you're not allowed to use this as an excuse. James, you kind of fed right in. I don't know that you and I have ever talked about this, but when I was originating loans, I was always number one in new apps and close apps, December, January, February, the whole company, because I never took my foot off the gas ever. And my agent partners didn't either. And I'll never forget, the only time that like it was super quiet was on Christmas Day. Even the day after, boom, lit up immediately. Thanksgiving morning, lit up, while I was doing stuff. I mean, they were not stopping. And if you're around those type of agents, and let me tell you, they're not stopping. So if you're the person not stopping with them, it's a total paradigm to think, oh, it's the holidays, everything's slower, it's okay. No, it's not. You can crush right on through. And let me tell you, there's nothing better for your year, for your calendar year, which we all look at in the mortgage business, than to come out of the gate in January and February strong. So you don't have to come back to get back on your numbers. There's no reason. Yeah, go ahead, James.
Well, the dialogue. So this is actually an interesting thing. All of my platoon people, which was really only two, platoon and a couple of other agents I'll do this with as well, but deeper partners. I love to play the game in Q4 of how short are you for your goal this year? And they'll tell me, and this is on a phone call, whatever. We're just talking deals, whatever. And I'll ask them, and we set up like fun little contests. Like, one of my best partners, she has a goal to do 6 or 7 units in December with us. Like, that's like her goal for the last month of the year. And there's others like that too. There's a fun way to engage people so that their mind stays on where it should as well. And we do the same thing for January. Hey, how do you want to start the year off? Don't you want to start Q1 with a bang? And you become a value add to them in that way as well.
Yeah. That's the extended, one of the things that I used to do only with my platoon agents was, business planning for the next year. And I would take a day with each one of them and do a whole day about what their plan was for the next year. I mean, talk about, doing a lot of business with someone. I mean, you're in their plan, basically. From a B2B perspective, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and or a drink or something around drink time. I mean, if you don't drink, that's fine. But this is the time of the year when you can pretty much get almost any agent partner, to meet you for a glass of wine at 4:30. I mean, this is just the festive time of the year when you can, so you should be taking advantage of it. And you can actually up your B2Bs. James is saying he wants to do 6. Well, doing 6 lunches, you have to be, I know Patty Batard's on here, but Hung Lee is not on here right now. He's the grandmaster of 10 B2Bs a week, the 11 o'clock and then the 1 o'clock lunch, the double lunch, the 2 lunches every day, which is very hard to do, by the way. I think Michael Most has done a couple of those. It's hard to do those, but to do a lunch and then do a drink at 5, that's totally doable. So
the worst part about working with Joel is that you gain like 600 pounds. Like
I mean, come on. My wife always used to laugh. She'd hear me on the phone with one of my clients who'd be a female client, and I would come out of the gate with something like this. So we wearing the stretchy pants? How chubby are we? She's like, who are you talking to? And I'm like, she knows what I mean. It's
Perfect.
just, I'm really asking her, is she doing B2Bs? That's all I'm asking. And then there's laughing through the phone or whatever. But so everyone, listen, James he's easy to find on Facebook. His Instagram is Your Cousin James, which I think is pretty funny. And is on Instagram. He's easy to find. He's a guy that loves helping people. So you have questions, you can go straight out to him. James, is that what you prefer? Do you want Josh to put your mobile or your email address in the chat?
Yeah, whatever. This is
okay.
This is a cool group. No problem.
Okay. All right. So Josh, if you want to put that in the chat, or I have James's information. If you want to reach out to him, he's a helpful mentor kind of guy. So always looking to help people. We talked about a lot of cool stuff today. It's like nothing super sexy. There's not a bunch of bells and whistles. If you all notice, a lot of my guests, we don't really do that because I don't think any of that crap works, or it's not long for the world. I mean, you got to grind. You got to do the work. Relationships are a marathon, not a sprint. The two best sales techniques are guilt and sympathy. You can't have either one of them without a relationship. You have to have a relationship to have those two emotions come into play. So you're looking at a guy right here who mastered it in less than 5 years, and he's only just started. Probably, if I had him on here a year from now, he'd be closing 60 purchase loans for the month. So this is doable for every single person on this call.
But Joel,
by the way, he did this during COVID. Yeah, go ahead, James.
I did all that dumb stuff though. Like I bought leads and did all the programs and like learned how to create landing pages. And like I went down 50 million rabbit holes before I figured out that none of that does anything, literally. It's a complete distraction from the only thing you should do, which is have lunch and dinner with people. Like that's it. Like just do that.
Michael Most, you laughing at that? Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that is, I'll never forget when James and I first met each other. I'm like, yeah, we're not doing any of that anymore. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, that's a total waste. And he's a very smart guy. And it took him about 5 minutes to go, oh, okay, you're right. The ROI on that is like suck. Okay, let's start. So, and I don't just mean ROI, meaning cash. I mean, just his time, the time he's spending. See his 3 little kids. So everybody, James Allen, thank you very much. Guaranteed rate, Hartford area, Connecticut. Thank you so much for being on. Everybody, it's ground and pound time. It's go time. It's not stop time. You heard James say it. That's a body you'll be looking at. His back, if you're trying to get by him, he will be standing in front of that agent that you should have already been talking to, gladly taking those purchase transactions that you will not be getting if you don't get off your butt and get out of your chair. Again, stand up. Everyone, look at your chair. If it looks like your butt cheeks, you're doing this wrong. That means you're sitting in your chair. You should not be in your chair. You should be out doing the activities that will get you lots of loans. Housekeeping, no call next week. We are back on October 25th. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.